Design careers are different than any other careers out there. We can all acknowledge that. And there typically isn't a linear path to progression. There certainly isn't a clear roadmap or playbook of how to get to the next level. And this is exactly why I created my Get Unstuck coaching program, created by a designer, myself, for designers. And I built this off of my experiences, my own training that I gathered from years in corporate America. Now, this wasn't necessarily design specific training, but it was training on how to coach and lead others situationally. And it was also training on how to progress a corporate career. And what I've done is I've taken 20 plus years of my own experiences accelerating my career throughout the industry, and I have created my Get Unstuck program. And today I'm going to share 3 ways that I coach many career creatives to get unstuck. In order to talk about getting unstuck, we first need to talk about why we are stuck in the first place. And there are 3 main ways that I see people get stuck in their creative careers. So let's unpack those now. First way that you typically get stuck in your career is that you get stuck in the doing. That path from being an individual contributor or an IC to being a creative director or a manager, somebody that is being more directive, giving direction, coming up with a vision, and helping orchestrate a team to deliver one collective vision is very different. And that skill set is often not taught. You get stuck in doer mode. And the reason that you get stuck in doer mode is because that's where your organization needs you. And they often won't push you to move out of that because you become a master at that level. You're delivering. And if you move on, then the organization needs to retrain somebody to take your place, and it kind of becomes a domino effect. So a lot of times an org will kind of allow an IC to be an IC for as long as they're willing to stay there. So net, they need you where you are. The tension with that is that you know you could do so much more, and you feel that you're becoming complacent, and you're starting to get frustrated because you're not feeling that you're growing and expanding. And let's face it, maybe you've capped out on the salary at that level, and you want to make more money and you want to be challenged. So this becomes a real tension point between you, the employee, and the employer. But you're not sure what to do to get out of the situation. And many times you're just not given that roadmap by a boss or a mentor, or the actual owner of the company, if you're working at a smaller agency. That clarity or kind of roadmap to the next level isn't laid out for you. And maybe it's also just like a moving goalpost. You know, you're told one thing one year, or 1 month, or one performance review, and then you're told something else later down the road. I've coached many people that have come to me and said, I've been at this agency for 5 years, 8 years, 12 years, and they keep telling me that, the next creative director role they have open, they'll promote me just to, when it comes time, bring in somebody from the outside. So this is one way we get stuck. Kind of being a master of our craft as an IC, but not being given the opportunities or not being able to push ourselves into that more directive level role. Another way, or second way, that I see a lot of people get stuck is that you are kind of just sitting and waiting to be handed the keys to the castle. You think you've done enough, you've done some amazing work, your craft is off the hook. But at the end of the day, you're maybe not showing those next level skills. But you're sitting and waiting for somebody to come in someday and say, hi, you're promoted, you're the next creative director. And that's not going to happen by just sitting around and waiting. I like to say, no one is going to hand you the keys to the castle. You have to go and, find them, get them yourself. The third way I see a lot of people get stuck is that you just don't understand the business landscape. At the end of the day, this isn't something that's typically taught in a design educational program. and it's a bit of an outage. So when we go through our collegiate programs or our universities, we learn the craft. We become a master of that craft. But there's a huge outage when we get out into the real world because we don't know how to manage within a business world. And so this is often where a lot of designers get stuck as well. They lack the soft skills, they lack the communication skills, they lack the ability to see what they need to do to kind of maneuver through a business led world. These are just a few of the ways that I see many of my coaching clients getting stuck in their creative careers. So, getting unstuck reminds me a little bit about physics class. I know I'm talking to a creative audience, so just bear with me for 1 minute. I promise physics was not my favorite class either. I barely, got a C in physics. So, um, but one thing I do remember about physics is when an object is not in motion, or what we may call an object is stuck, the object needs a energy force to get it unstuck. That is the same thing with your career. And it's the same thing with that feeling of, you're stuck, you're complacent, you're in place, and you need something to push you, to give you the momentum to start moving in a direction. And sometimes you just need that kick in the butt, that reality check, that somebody to kind of walk through your situation with you and point out your blind spots. And this is where coaching can be a significant momentum changer when you feel stuck in your career. The first way to start getting unstuck in your career is to not do it alone. Create strategic support, be it through a boss or a mentor or coaching. Start with talking to people that you admire, that you look up to, that you say, wow, they seem to have a really thriving career, and ask them how they got there. Ask them to go to coffee, ask them to go to lunch. People love to talk about themselves. And I guarantee that 9 times out of 10, somebody will sit down and walk you through their journey. I've been doing this recently with my podcast, Gab Design with Gabby. And I've been sitting down with people from all across the industry and just listening and asking questions about their career journey. And it's super insightful. So I say, get a support network, get ideas of how to navigate your career from other people around you. And that is a great way to start getting unstuck. And you can't do it alone. You really can't. When you're in that moment where you're feeling like you're stuck, you need some sort of momentum, like we were saying in my physics story. You need some sort of push. You need something to pull you out of your day to day and give you new ideas, give you food for thought, and show you how to navigate the waters and what are the possible, different paths that you can take. So that is a great way to start getting unstuck. One of the things that I tell people of the difference between a mentor and a coach. So if you are looking for a mentor, just remember that a mentor is going to talk to you about how they got where they are. They see you following their path, the path that they took. They're going to mentor you through their experiences and, talk you through like how they got there. And that's what they're going to mentor you on. So just realize that if somebody who's mentoring you, that's not the path that you want, then they're probably not the best mentor for you. And that brings me to the point of coaching. Why coaching is different than mentorship. Coaching is different than a mentor because a coach is there to guide you situationally through where your starting point is and help you see your blind spots and create a plan forward that is based on your personal needs, versus a mentor is just going to say, here's how I did this, here's how I did that, here's how I got to where I am, you should do it the way I did it. So that's the real difference between a coach and a mentor. That coach is invested in you and what you want, which brings me to my second point on getting unstuck, is gaining clarity. getting clarity on what you want to do. Again, when I coach people, this is one of the biggest areas that I see people being stuck. I love my creative friends in my creative community. I'm a creative myself, and I also do this myself to myself. It's so much easier to guide other people, but we love to brainstorm. We love to problem solve. And our careers we see as a big problem to solve, especially in these moments that we are feeling complacent and stuck. And so we start thinking of all the possibilities, all the different ways to solve it. I've talked to people that have come to me that say, oh, I could, keep being a design manager at X company, or I could go start my own company, or I could go be a consultant, or maybe, I'll go work for a startup. And so they have all these ideas laid out. I've even talked to people who are like, I'm just going to completely quit being creative and I'm going to go be a doctor. It's like, okay, well, we're in our 40s. We've missed the doctor boat at this point. I'm not saying don't be a doctor. If you really want to be a doctor, go for it. But mid-career, that might be a little bit harder to kind of get to that point that you need to get. So this is the biggest thing that I work with people on is let's gain clarity on what you want, why you're doing creative. Do you still have the passion for it? Are you just burnt out because of your situation? Gaining that clarity of your starting point, why you're feeling the way you're feeling, and what you want more of out of your creative career is incredibly important to picking a path that you can commit to and move forward with. And that is going to tell you what do you want to do next. Why are you feeling this urge that what you're doing now isn't right for you? And then identifying then what is right for you. So gaining clarity is the second way that we get unstuck. Gaining that clarity in your path forward. What is it that you want? What is it that you want to go do? What is it that you want to go after? And why do you want those things? Once you identify what you want in that path forward, everything else becomes clearer. Your goals, your actions, what does success look like? What do you need to go do to achieve this? And once you have that clarity, this takes me into way number 3 to get unstuck, which is gaining exposure, gaining visibility in the right areas so that you are seen, so that people will come to you and know that you are the expert in a certain topic. And these opportunities for exposure, you have to go seek them out. But that idea of what to go seek out is way clearer once you know what you're going after. So, for example, if you're a senior designer and you're wanting to move to creative director level, then we start mapping that out for you and saying, okay, what are the exposure opportunities that you need to seek out? You need to be able to, see how design work is presented. You need to start understanding how to direct other people. So you can start mapping out and ask for those opportunities. For example, you can start asking to be, a mentor or kind of like the leader to a junior designer. That's a really great idea of a way to have direct report experience that you're going to need as a creative director. Directing others in creative is very different than creating it yourself. This is one of the areas I see a lot of people get tripped up when they're wanting more out of their career. They want to be this leader, but they're not exactly sure how to move from that I do the work, I'm an individual contributor, I'm really great at it, and I think I should be a creative director. But let me tell you, as somebody who spent 19 years of my career directing others in creative, that is a skill set that isn't gained overnight. And so you have to figure out and identify exposure opportunities to start learning that skill set, start kind of pulling together the tools in your toolbox to be ready for that directive level role. So if you're looking at being a creative director, you're looking at being a manager of work, instead of that individual contributor. You need to find those exposure opportunities and ask to be involved. Ask to shadow another creative director into meeting to see how they present, or ask to shadow another project that they're leading to see how they lead the team. Start taking note of the kind of roles that you want to be in and watch and see where people are successful and good at doing their job. And observation is a great way to start learning. But first, you need to have exposure to those experiences to observe them, to start learning from them. And you can't sit around and wait to be kind of given the keys to the castle. As we talked before, waiting keeps you stuck. You have to ask to be part of those opportunities. And you know what? The worst that somebody can say is no. And if you're in an environment where the answer is often no, and they're not invested in your growth, that's probably a sign that that's not the right environment for you anymore. So I always say, invite yourself to the party. And once you invite yourself to the party, you'll be surprised what you learn, what you start picking up, who you start having exposure to, and how you're seen in your organization. In closing, there are many ways to get unstuck, but three critical ways that we've covered today is one, to gain clarity on your career and what you want out of it. Once you start identifying that, that's your North Star. And then you can start actioning with clarity. Gain exposure, gain experiences. You're just constantly curating, your own arsenal of experiences that you're going to build off of. And that's what's going to make you unique. And that's what's going to make you somebody that gets promoted and that people want on their team. Get support. You can't do it alone. And that's one of the biggest things that I talk to a lot of people about is, as designers, we tend to like to problem solve. We think we can do it all on our own. We're used to kind of figuring it out. We're used to hard tasks. And like, if I don't know how to do it, I'm going to learn. But your career is not the place to keep kind of banging your head against the wall and doing it on your own. When you're at that point of feeling stuck, you need, that momentum, you need that push to help you get out of that stuck environment and that stuck feeling. So don't do it alone. Get a support system, get a coach, get a mentor, join a community, and invest in yourself, because getting unstuck is not a solo journey. And if you need help, you need connection, I'm here. I do a complimentary discovery call as a coach. I love talking about this topic. I genuinely am passionate about helping people thrive in their creative careers. I myself, many times, looked at my career and thought, what am I doing? Should I keep going down this path? And one of the things that kept me there is that I do truly love creative work, and I love branding, and I love marketing, and I love being able to create these environments where great creativity can go to market. And I think it's unjust that creatives think that they have to quit because the environment they're working in is so hard for them right now. And I'm coaching many, many individuals to thrive even in this volatile environment. So if you're finding yourself stuck, please do reach out for that complimentary discovery call. Also, join my community, the design cohort. It is free. This is also part of my mission and part of my passion, is that I saw that the design community is way too siloed, that we're under networked, that we're under connected. And this is something that also keeps us stuck in our careers, is we haven't created a community outside of our agency or outside of our work environment. And when we need it, it's not there. And so come join the design cohort. It is a community of really amazing professionals from all across the industry. And we come together once a month and we talk about a topic that's really affecting our industry. Last year, this topic happened to be a lot on AI. And towards the end of last year, the topic tended to be a lot around the job market and how to navigate it. And this year, I'm already seeing us talking about how to elevate the community, elevate each other, elevate design within the business industry. How do we learn business acumen? How do we become more effective in the business world? So there's much, much, much to talk about. We do fun things. We do round robins. So join the design cohort. It's the designcohort.com. Membership is free. So once you join that, you'll also be connected to the Design Cohort Insider, which is exposure and connection to my podcast, Gab Design with Gabby, where, like I said earlier, we talk to individuals from all across the industry about their journey, how they got there. Super insightful. You'll learn a lot from your peers if you can't join those monthly cohorts. It's a great way to kind of get exposed to other people all across the industry and different journeys and different walks of life. So that's another great way. And the Design Cohort Insider also has a newsletter component with tips, tricks of the trade, and hot topics. So I hope to see you there. And just know that you don't have to navigate this alone. It shouldn't be this difficult, and that there are many people that are starting to thrive and grow their careers in design. And so I hope you join us, and I hope to see you around.